Hey guys, Mike here. So today's cult classic review is 1997's Boogie Nights, starring Mark Wahlberg as Dirk Diggler. In Boogie Nights, we follow a young man's adventures through the porn industry in the late 70s and early 80s. And so we have Boogie Nights. So guys, this is a movie in this series before watching and reviewing it today. I had not seen it before. And to be honest, I was really looking forward to watching this one because I'd heard really good things about it despite not really knowing anything about it. I knew that Mark Wahlberg was in it, but that was pretty much the extent. Didn't really know what it was about, didn't know when it was set, didn't know any of the other characters in it. Just knew that Mark Wahlberg was in it. So, what did I think of Boogie Nights? Well, pretty much the long and short of it is that everyone in this film is just excellent. And you know what, there's quite a lot of famous actors in this, like Burt Reynolds, Julianne Moore, John C. Reilly, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Don Cheadle, and obviously as well, Mark Wahlberg, who, and I imagine probably like quite a few of the other people in this, were relatively unknown at the time, and through movies like this, where they made their name. And I gotta say, this is probably one of the finest performances I've ever seen Mark Wahlberg give. Now, Mark Wahlberg, pretty much like every other actor, has their good movies and has their bad movies. They have their movies that proves what a great actor they are, and then they have their movies that prove that they wanted to get paid that day. And obviously, this being really early on in Mark Wahlberg's career, he still had a lot to prove to audiences, and he definitely does show that he has a lot to offer. And it's a shame he didn't receive an Oscar nomination for this performance because I thought he was really good in it. But obviously, you can't really argue with Burt Reynolds and Julianne Moore getting nominated for their performances in this, because like Wahlberg as well, they were just outstanding. Now, I haven't really seen Burt Reynolds or Julianne Moore in many other things, but these are some definitely great performances that they did deserve to get Oscar nominations for. And again, the characters as a whole, even though their whole world is a bit bizarre and out of the ordinary, they are really grounded and well-made characters. Because while Boogie Nights' setting isn't exactly traditional, these do feel like real characters and react the way that you would expect a person to in this situation. But one of the best things about Boogie Nights, and probably where it gets a lot of its drama and definitely a lot of its comedy, is the blasé nature to everything that's going on. And as a viewer, everything they do comes across as very blasé. But for them, it just makes a lot of sense. Because at the end of the day, what they're doing is a business, it's work, so they need to get down to the point of what they're doing. They can't spend their whole days tiptoeing around one another, being really shy and bashful. They just have to get to the point and get the job done. And Boogie Nights could have really presented this as a very forceful and very depraved way of doing things. But it just comes across as very respectful and just very professional as well. But then, as the movie progresses, everything does start to become a bit more sketchy and a lot more depraved as well. Because for the first half, everyone's getting on really well, the porn industry is really going places, and just everyone's having a really good time and everything's really light-hearted. And then everything just starts to get progressively worse for everyone. Burt Reynolds' character is unwilling to change with the time. Julianne Moore's character is starting to get more into drugs and alcohol and just ruining her relationship with her family. And Wahlberg's biggest crime is that he becomes very arrogant. He sees himself as the ultimate gift to the pornography industry and everyone must bow before him. And inevitably, that becomes his downfall. And he, like everyone else in this film, just starts to go down this really dark path. And that's another great thing that Boogie Nights really does well. Because if it started off with everything being really depressing and being really downbeat, it might have been a lot harder to actually engage with these characters. But when you start them off in these really light-hearted situations, making them seem really approachable and friendly, it makes you want to relate with them, it makes you want to like these people. And then when their lives start to take a downward spiral, a lot of the times because of their own choices, it makes you really, again, relate with these characters. And it makes you think, maybe I might have done the same thing in their situation, or God, I hope I wouldn't make that choice in that situation. And then as it gets worse and worse, you just think, how could it possibly get worse than the last scene? And then something else happens and it just keeps getting more horrible from there. And then just when you think you've had enough with how horrible the story can get, it just throws another curveball at you. And then you're just left in this state of just thinking, oh, geez, what a depressing film. But again, because it has that pre-established light-hearted tone and likable characters, it keeps you fully invested in it, and it makes you want to see how they actually are going to deal with these situations. And then just the way the film ends was brilliant, because, not to give it away, but you get to see what the big deal is about Mark Wahlberg's character. So guys, would I consider Boogie Nights a personal cult classic, and would I recommend that you guys should see it? Honestly, I really liked this film, definitely way more than I thought I would. The performances were excellent, the setting was very interesting, and it was just a really well-crafted, well-told story. Which actually, thinking on this film a lot more, I probably actually would consider this one a personal cult classic. I'll have to see what I think of this film in a couple of months or a couple of years from now, but as it stands right now, this movie is definitely in consideration to be a personal cult classic. And as it stands right now, I would definitely consider it one. And as for whether or not you guys should see it, if you haven't already seen Boogie Nights, then I would highly recommend that you should watch this film. It's definitely not for the light-hearted. It's got a lot of taboo issues in it and a lot of taboo settings, but if you can get past that and you can really just invest yourself in the story, I guarantee you will have a good time with this film. Okay guys, that's my cult classic review of Boogie Nights. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever you think, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!